My name is Erica Steimetz. I'm a freelance producer and have recently been running Old Navy's photo studio kind of as an interim studio manager while they are in the midst of a lot of change. So that's what I'm doing currently. Currently without any work though, since we were shut down. So.
Or how long ago did they shut down?
Last Tuesday when the shelter in place went into effect. So it was they were trying to shoot that one last week in preparation of possibly closing the studio, and then the city certainly made that decision for everyone. My cat is going to be in my lap most of the time.
That's all right.
Yeah, so it was pretty heartbreaking to have to, tell people not to come to work for the rest of that week. And yeah, it's one of those moments where, you're kind of the person that has to make those. I didn't get to make the decisions, but had to be the bearer of bad news of, these are what cancellation policies are. And it was a really rough week being in that position, and kind of disappointing actually, that I feel like our clients haven't really stepped up to take care of a community that really does so much really integral work, which they couldn't operate their companies without. That's kind of a bummer. It's a lot of people, and a lot of people who are there on a fairly full-time basis, some freelancers and everything. Not a lot of full-time employees in that studio right now. So really everything has been supported by freelancers.
Yeah. And I know there's some resources out there for freelancers in the community, considering the situation. Most of those people are going to need to rely on that, correct? I mean, because there's no severance package or no layoff package.
I think that, the film industry has a lot more protections because they're union. And I've actually been talking a lot to a friend who works in the film industry, and obviously their unions can only do so much. They only have so much protections, and he feels like they're not really doing that much at the moment. But they can really easily connect with, those major studios and make sure that things are aligned and kind of push for them to do the right things. So Netflix has already created, their $100 million support system for the people affected by this. And I think that's huge because they really do realize that these people literally make the things that make them money. And they're grandfathered in where they can do that. And the photo industry doesn't have those kinds of protections.
Yeah. I know that there's been a lot of talk about union, and do you think that's a good idea for the photo industry up here too?
I don't think it's possible, to be honest, because we have so many people who basically run their own businesses. The film industry, the little bit of research that I've done, because I've gone up and down of being like furious and, desperate and so sad for everyone. So it's of course something that you look into, like, why don't we have this? And a big part of it is that we are all freelancers. People have their own businesses. And the film industry was grandfathered into being allowed to stay union. But I don't think that we could form a new one under our current setup. I think that people would really they would have to not be their own businesses anymore. And I think that would be a really tough sell. I also don't think that people are ready to really align. I think there's always going to be someone trying to undercut people and kind of, cross those union lines. And I think that as an industry, we've been pitted against each other because there's always someone else who will do it cheaper, maybe not as well, but they'll do it. And I don't think that brands have ever had to suffer the repercussions of what happens when you don't pay for it.
Yeah, I know. For myself, doing some film projects and working in documentary space, there's a number of people that will come out and do things for nothing.
Yeah.
12 to 15-hour days, and they still, sure, I'll do it for $100. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and at least documentary, that feels kind of nonprofit, that feels kind of volunteer work. It's there's not a bunch of money to be made in the documentary industry, which is unfortunate because we should, like, it's such a valuable thing. So that feels a little that feels a little less cringy, but when there's brands that are making plenty of money, and they rely on this. They cannot survive without the work that we do. Really wanting to nickel and dime people is that's really become a bigger challenge for me in the past few weeks than it has been in the past. I've really been able to justify, how things work. And I think that all of this is just showing that the way our freelance and gig economy is set up, it's just not, it doesn't work.
yeah, yeah. With all of the people that you work with on a daily basis over there, well, how are the emotions? How are people's responses? How are they doing?
I haven't kept in touch with a ton of people because I want to give them space. I'm in that weird position of kind of being separate from everyone in a way, because I'm kind of like in charge and kind of working in tandem with a client. And it's kind of hard because I wonder if they think that I really have that much power. I don't have any power. I don't really, I was able to voice my opinion of how things are enacted, but at the end of the day, I don't have any say in what, an enormous corporation decides to do. So, everyone has just been grateful for what they can get, and they are grateful to have a future opportunity, hopefully. And everyone's been really gracious, and it really has just broken my heart, because everyone, I just know that everyone is just hoping that there will be work for them at the end of all this. And, I think that a lot of people make concessions and really just take whatever they can get. And I think that people deserve more than just what they can get. I really do.
Yeah, I agree.
But I can't do anything about it.
Right, right. Yeah.
It's like, I know that you're trying to like find some positivity in all of this, and I'm feeling a lot of despair because I really feel like I don't know that I can do anything to change this,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely been a shift. I mean, in the sense of how we're approaching things, and I think it's a challenge to think, maybe a month ahead or a week ahead. I know a lot of this work comes in very last minute. It's like, oh, are you free next week? Because we have this, and it's Thursday. Like you've got a data plan or whatever to get prepared. But with the impact that this is having, how do you see yourself pivoting and kind of looking more towards that next month or the month after? Is there anything that you have considered about preparing for?
To be honest, I've considered that maybe I'm not doing the work that I should be doing, that maybe I should be putting my talents into something that does more for people in the world, working for nonprofits, or I've always kind of justified what I'm doing in that I'm supporting a creative community. And I think this realization that I can't make any change is kind of making me reevaluate that. Am I supporting something that is keeping people from getting what they need and what they deserve? And, can I make change? At the same time, I think it's really important to keep people working in a creative way. So I'm, there's a lot kind of going on for me with wondering if as a producer, I am able to actually do the right thing. But the moment that I can, if Old Navy brings me back to continue to kind of run the studio in the interim while they're figuring out their, full-time resources. I will happily go back and get people working again. And I will continue to, fight for like rate increases and, all of those things that I think are really important.
Yeah. Kind of going off on a tangent here, but like being that you work for a big brand, how important do you think it is a brand's voice is right now and how they're approaching this? I haven't tuned into any of Old Navy's marketing, and I don't want to point a finger or even like look in that direction, but just trying to get your opinion on how some companies are like 30% off, 30% off, 30% off. Others are like, hey, we know you're working from home right now. We understand it's a challenge. Here's an incentive to make that easier. How important is what they're saying in this time? How
Since none of us can work for them right now, I am completely cut off from anything internal that's happening. I know that the marketing team, like the production team within Old Navy, which is kind of where the studio and the marketing team and everything is kind of like a little bubble within the company. Their director of production, she cares so much about people. And I know that this is all really heartbreaking for her that people are out of work. And I'm getting really tired of people trying to sell me stuff right now.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. It's like everyone's just like, buy. And I get it because, things have shifted. And if they don't sell things.
For sure. And like small companies, oh my gosh, like small people who have really small companies, like I get that. And I wish I felt confident supporting them right now. I'm, probably like a lot of people not wanting to spend a ton of money, but the sales and the shipping and, even shipping things is putting people at risk who are doing delivery. I mean, it's really aggravating, and seeing packages piling up in my building every day of like retail, just retail, not from companies that don't sell anything that is necessary. Right. Really just, it really grinds my gears.
Yeah. Speaking of gears, have you had a chance to get out on the bike at all?
No, not yet. I am hoping to be able to take an afternoon and go hit the empty roads and twisties. I think that'll definitely improve my mood. I've been trying to find some ways to volunteer my time. So I've been working with the SF Marin Food Bank. I've been making some small donations to a number of things that matter to me, where I know that little bit of money can actually go farther than even something that I could do on my own. So being able to go help out the food bank and pack boxes yesterday was great to get outside and be around other people for a reason, and to be able to distribute food to people. So that's been keeping me pretty sane, and hopefully getting out on a motorcycle soon will be good.
Yeah. So you have a little challenge, I think, right? There's some sort of live work challenge or act of kindness challenge going on. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, my partner and I live in about 400 square feet with 2 cats, and he is still employed. He's working from home as an architect. And so even in the best of circumstances, we have a small space, and luckily we have a Murphy bed. So during the day we have a living room and we have like a dining area and kitchen. So, but it's definitely a challenge to be in such tight quarters. We don't have any outdoor space. We do have a garage that we can go, fiddle with the bikes and everything, but, what are we going to do? Order a bunch of parts? And, like there's a lot of issues of, this is a great time to start a project, but we can't go to like Home Depot and buy a bunch of supplies. It's a challenge, but so far so good. We haven't killed each other yet.
Yeah.
The cats are very, very happy we're around. So
Yeah, our dog is the same way. She just loves having us
every day
walk.
is the best day of her life now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with the shelters were going to close down. So everybody
Mhm.
flocked and picked up pets.
Yeah, I wish that we had. I think it would be very challenging to foster a dog in such a small space with
Yeah.
two cats right now. But we thought about it because I think that would be such a good use of my time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, with that, you're doing some posting and some sharing. It's kind of a creative outlet, and then you have the challenge, act of kindness, right? That
Yeah, my friend Kat, um, she and I both have tended to be kind of irritated and frustrated with people, and so we're trying to every day kind of notice those moments where people do good in the world or do good in their community or are kind to someone, because I tend to just see how terrible people are. So trying to remember that people can be good and kind and do the right thing.
yeah. So, I mean, I think what's interesting about that is that while we are in quarantine, there are ways to help and there are ways to get out, I guess. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're safe and you want to get out and be part of the community and make a big difference, because as we all know here in San Francisco and Oakland and the Bay Area as a whole, we have a very large homeless population. There's a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous need citywide. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's really great that you're out there, and you know, it's a positive outlook. It's that
Mm-hmm.
turn that you can, you know what, we are all in a bad situation, but I can go out and make things better.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember that, and I just wish there was more that we could do. I mean, there's just not many physical ways to do any of this, um, which is really unfortunate. I mean, so many services have closed, and Glide is not serving meals right now. It's schools aren't serving meals to children, so there's bless you.
Thank you.
So there's some pop up kitchens providing meals for families in need. So it's just it feels hard that there's not more to be able to do because we
Yeah.
just have to keep so much distance.
Yeah. Yeah. I know over here, there's a catering company, Red Door Catering, that's doing
Mm-hmm.
little pop-ups and providing, like curbside pickup. They can't go out and cater, but
Mm-hmm.
again, they're using their resources and things that they already have to benefit the community, provide for the community. There's another one. There's a barbecue spot like 2 blocks away that's just been waiting and waiting to open. I think they got caught up in some
Oh, bummer.
permitting things, but they set up a temporary grill yesterday, and we're doing a little pop-up food delivery, which
Mm-hmm.
is really great to see the community coming together to meet the need. It meets the needs of the community as well as meeting the need of the small business owner.
Yeah, and I think that's what feels good to me is when small businesses are of course like doing what they can to stay afloat, but also being mindful of how they can adjust what they're doing to benefit the community. Chafiko up on Diviz, they've come up with a really good strategy where they're kind of famous. They have all these celebrities that go there and everything. People come into town and go there, and they had people reach out to them saying like, what can we do to help you stay open? And it's because they want to go there and spend $500 on a meal, and the owner was like, well, what you can do is you can kind of sponsor us and you can give us $1,000 a month, and that will allow me to bring in some cooks. We'll prepare meals and we'll give them away to people, and we will be able to feed people in the community. We can pay some of our staff,
Mm-hmm.
not a ton, but it's something, and also give back. So they were able to figure out a way to keep the lights on, keep people somewhat employed, but also do some good. And that kind of flexibility feels really good to me.
Yeah, I think it's a new balance, right? Like, I was speaking with a financial advisor, and they were saying, well, if you think about it, in a time like now, like look at all of your different subscription services, your Netflix,
Mhm.
your Google, your Dropbox, like all of these pieces that start adding up. I mean, I probably spend $250 a month on that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't need Google Drive and Dropbox. And, so like analyzing
Mhm.
some of that stuff. So some of these cooks can come in, maybe they're not making as much as they would normally, but it's a win-win situation. You're
Mhm.
providing resources to the community, and then you're giving back as a community member. And
Yeah.
it feels like it's a very good situation to be able to set something like that up.
Yeah, and I think it gives those people, even if they are in a limited capacity employed, gives them it having something to do is really, really important, because being unable to do anything is where we start to despair, whether it's being able to do our own personal work that we usually do. Being out of work is one thing, but then not being able to actually do anything else, like
Mhm.
being like, great, I have this time. How do I find volunteer opportunities? But there's very few physical volunteer opportunities. So like being creative with seeing ways to like find meaning in all of this time that you have is really important. Um, and that's why you're doing what you're doing. You're able to like find a way to channel all of that and find meaning in your time and these long days. Because otherwise I could see you being really, really like in despair of not knowing how to do anything. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I came up with is I don't have all the answers, but I
Hmm.
want to ask the questions.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
and I think as a community, widespread as we are, we all have the answers, like collectively. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping to get at is whether it be inspiration to go help the community, whether it be inspiration to start a personal project, or whether it be um, inspiration to just focus on family and take a downtime period so that we get out of the grind. Whatever that is, whatever that works for each individual person. I think that's what I'm in search of. It could be creative marketing strategies, and
Hmm.
so I mean, I'm asking questions. I'm
Yeah.
I think the despair level is not as high when you're inquisitive.
Hmm. No, that for sure, it definitely helps. Um, and that's a big part of why I'm just looking for things that I can share with other people. And every time I find some sort of resource for freelancers who are unemployed, I just send it out to a bunch of people. And if it can help one person, that's something. And connecting people with other people, and saying you should go talk to this person, or recently I had a friend who needs a logo designer who's like, oh, you should talk to this person. And just connecting people to keep them moving.
It's connections, it's network, it's as a producer, it's like, okay, I got a project, I need this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's much easier when the PA pings you and says, hey, I'm available. And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that's right. Boom, that one's off my list.
Yeah, for sure.
But having the network to reach out to as well is vital.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is a great opportunity for you to just like kind of follow the breadcrumbs. So, like when I first got into the industry, I was curious about it and talked to a photographer that I had worked with just on a shoot for a brand. I was, working for this company, and we needed to do a shoot, and he and I just went out on top of Mount Tam, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And so when I was kind of mid like career change crisis and didn't know where I was going, I took him out for coffee. I was like, tell me about what you do. Tell me, like, what do other people do? And he sent me to like an art buyer, who sent me to a producer, who sent me to a studio. And so I just kept like following the breadcrumbs of like, who do you recommend I talk to? And so I created this incredible network of people that I had just taken out for coffee. And then they've been part of my experience in the past 4 years being in this industry. And it's been pretty remarkable to like connect with them again, years later and be like, hey, you really helped me figure out what I needed to do or my next steps and everything. So I think that should be part of your line of questioning, is like, who else should I talk to?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just keep chasing it around, and you never know who you're going to run into.
Yeah. Well, I know you already gave me a bunch of names, and I think, you know, what you just explained is vital for people that don't have work now,
Mm-hmm.
to stay in contact with those people that they haven't seen in a while, they haven't talked to in a while. It's such a vital tool, you know, like when you move somewhere, what do? You tell everybody and anybody that you just moved here and this is what you do. So it's
Yeah,
that same
for
network
sure.
processing. As this whole industry gets reshuffled around, it's highly important to
Yeah.
stay in contact with all the people that you work with regularly.